Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Ballin with Bash and Ted. I'm Ted, Ted H6 of Ted Talks Ball, and every Friday, Bash, Bashar of 49er Minded, and I come to you 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. A couple minutes late today. We had some technical difficulties trying to make everything look nice and pretty. But here we are. We've made it. And Bash, how are you doing on this fine Friday? Faithful Friday.
There you go. I'm doing pretty good. So I was able to go to the game last week. I didn't really do any streams on my channel. A lot of things got in the way in terms of life over the past week, but I'm looking to probably do a live stream maybe tonight but definitely tomorrow at the latest to do a preview on just on my own channel. And yes, but it's good to do the collab with you as usual. We broadcast on both channels and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm ready, but nothing serious got in the way in terms of me not being on YouTube. Just certain times. There's certain moments and certain weeks where you just a whole lot busier than normal. And hey, you have a baby. You have a new baby in the house now. Sure, you're pretty
That's
busy
right.
with that.
Yeah, that's right. It's been almost 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks on Monday. New baby boy. We already have a young son who's 3.5. He'll be closer to 3 3/4. He'll be 4 in January. And we're happy to have the new addition. Mom and baby boy are doing well. Not a lot of sleep going on, as it is with newborns. But, everyone's healthy and bouncing back, and that's awesome. Real quick, I just want to pop into the chat here. It looks like the chat is already popping. So let's say hi to folks. We've got Stevo Supremo in the house. He says, so he's reacting to my title. I said, does CARDS spell trap? And he's saying it can't be a trap game because of what happened to the Cowboys last week. But trap game isn't so much what happened with the team you play. It was a little bit, but it's really more about the team the next week, which is for us, the Cowboys. And I do think they are still contenders if they can get their offensive line healthy. I did see that Tyron Smith, their all-pro left tackle, is still out. Biotish and Zach Martin, their all-world right guard, are questionable for their game this Sunday. But they were missing 4 of their 5 offensive linemen, and 3 of those guys are all pros. So I wouldn't read too much into the Cowboys losing to the Cards because I got a lot of trouble on the timeline. A lot of people were saying, oh, why do you defend Dak when you don't defend Purdy? And I'm like, Purdy's not missing 80% of his O-line, and the O-line is not the strength of the Niners. Our strength is our weapons. That would be like us missing Debo, Kittle, and Ayuk, or Debo, Kittle, and CMC. So anyway, that's a lot for me. So, but let's just check in. We got Jimmy
people on your
Perez.
timeline love you, Ted. Just remember that on Twitter.
Thanks, Bash. It seems like it's fewer and farther between these days, but I appreciate it. Jimmy Perez now says, "What's up?" Also, we are streaming to both channels. So if you're on my channel, make sure you pop over to Bash's, give him a like and subscribe. Same thing if you're on 49er Minded, get over to Ted Talks Ball, give me a like and subscribe. If you're on a browser, open up 2 tabs. You can watch both at the same time. It really helps us. Or even if you're on a phone, you could watch with a second device like a tablet or something. We got Dan, the Corn Man, in the house saying hello, fellas. Welcome,
what
Dan.
Up, Dan?
Brian Sinnott in the house saying g'day, boys.
He's in Australia, man. A diehard Niner fan from down under.
Down under, an Aussie. Oi, oi. Jimmy's just saying hi to you as well, too. Nice photo last week, Bash, with I think the one with probably Steve Young.
Yeah, he's probably talking about when I got to meet Steve Young. So
that's pretty awesome. I'm jealous.
Thank you, and thanks to Laura because she spotted Steve Young. She was the first to spot Steve Young out of our group. Well, I didn't know where she was. We all got to go on the field after the game. We had the pleasure of going on the field. I'd never been on the Levi's field before. And I was walking around for 10 minutes and I saw everybody else from the group. I was like, where's Laura at? So at one point I was like, oh, let me see where she is. And also I see her. She's got this odd look on her face, like something bad happened, or I guess she was crying tears of joy. She's like, oh, I just met Steve Young. I was like, met Steve Young? Where is he? I didn't see him. She's like, he's right over there. And I literally walked by the area of him, like 4 or 5 people standing. I even bothered to glance over there at the time he was there. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I just walked up to him and he let everybody walk up to him. He let everybody take pictures with him. He was so friendly and gracious. So it was a great experience.
Unbelievable. So cool. Yeah, you got to sit in the gold mine. And you got to meet Jess and Raj
Yeah,
and
shout out to
Brian
all those
Culp
guys.
and
Yeah, I met
so
a
many
whole bunch of
cool
people from
folks.
YouTube, Brian Culp and Dave
That's great.
McNiner, Jess, Ty Alston, Rebecca, and a whole bunch of other people. I could be missing somebody. Brandon from Forever Faithful podcast was there, so we had tons of fun. Great to witness a Niner victory home opener. Been to plenty of Levi's home openers, and that was one of the better ones. So
There you go. We got Bebop Jones in the house. Sergio
Bebop.
Garcia in the house.
Sergio is a really good friend of mine. Used to work with him back in the day. Big time Niner fan. He's also a hip hop artist. Check him out on social media. If you want to drop your social media, Instagram or whatever, so people can check out your music, go ahead, just drop it in the chat. And yeah, just let everybody know where you're at, and that's fine. I'm perfectly okay with that, Sergio. Really good dude.
There you go. Bebop Jones coming to us from Bethlehem, PA. Welcome, Bebop. And we got Laura Cat, as you mentioned. We got Nancy Cameron in the house. Thanks for joining, Nancy. Great to have you here. And that gets us caught up a little bit on the chat. So maybe we should catch up a little bit on our chatting. I mean, it's been a while since we talked. Obviously, we didn't stream last Friday, so we could talk, Rams. We could talk Giants. Obviously, we'll talk some Cards preview. Cards Cowboys. Dolphins Broncos was a big topic of conversation. Jimmy Raiders against the Steelers. A lot of stuff going on.
Plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
And
so
then
what would you like to start with?
Laura says, Bash, you need to work in PR for real. I'm not sure why she says. Maybe she's being sarcastic, or maybe because I like to hype people up and put people out there. And I definitely think people should be appreciated for their talents. And if I do spot talent out there, people that need to be recognized, definitely think it's important for them to be known, or their names to be known, the voices to be heard. So I hope you're serious about that. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was great being at the game. I mean, we're about pretty much a week removed from the game, but we can still talk about it if you want. I mean, but Purdy, it was funny because I was literally sitting watching the game and I was opening up my phone, checking my Twitter. I was mumbling like, hey, is Ted going to be putting out some bad tweets right now about Purdy? Because Purdy was 5 for 14 early in the game. And I was like, I know Ted likes to be critical, but, as I was watching the game, though, I know Purdy did have a bad start, but I didn't have a bad sense. I didn't have a sense of feeling in my brain or in my body or anything else that, oh wow, he's gonna have a terrible game, or he's gonna be shitty, or we're gonna lose, or we're gonna suck today. I still thought that okay, well, Purdy's gonna fight through. He's gonna find a way to make it happen. And lo and behold, 310 yards. I mean, his overall completion percentage for the game, I don't know, was it 24 for? It wasn't that bad. It was like 24 for 35, maybe, or I'm eyeballing it, but he had a pretty. I mean, if you look at his stats overall from the game overall, it was pretty damn good. 2 TDs, a beautiful strike to Debo, really nice strike to Ronnie Bell. So I mean, he found a way to overcome it, just like my intent. Just how I was kind of feeling he would. So that was good. And the run game helped him, of course. And Kittle had a good game, 90 yards, and they didn't have Ayuk. But sure, there were passes that could have been intercepted or passes that looked questionable. But he's still a guy who hasn't played the full 16 games yet. So or full 17 games now, that is. So there's definitely a learning curve for Purdy. But I'd say so far so good. And on top of that, he was blitzed a whole lot. I went back and watched some film, and he was blitzed on numerous occasions. They disguise coverages, and he's actually top 10 in the league in terms of quarterbacks that have faced the most pressures. His pressure rate is at 40.6, and only the quarterback who has it worse in the league is Zach Wilson at 51%. I'm reading some stats right now, but out of that whole list of the guys who are blitzed the most, Purdy's the only one who's 3-0. So, hats off to Purdy. I think he looks pretty good so far. Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I did tweet those incompletion numbers that he had. I think it was like 5 of 12, 5 of 13, 5 of 14 at one point. But the bigger concern for me was the time where Kittle had to play DB to avoid a likely pick, and Debo had to play DB to avoid a likely pick. And there must have been 3 or 4 dangerous throws to Debo. I mean, there was a screen, there was one on the goal line, there was one where he got clotheslined. There was the one that Debo could only tip, and then luckily Bell got the completion. But I wouldn't call them like hospital ball specials, like what we would call for Jimmy G back in the past. But I would say that they were dangerous. There was like a lot of DBs in the area, and they weren't safe throws from a player safety, but also from a ball protection safety perspective. Yeah, he got blitzed a lot, but I will say, like, I think people maybe make a little too much of the blitzing. Like, the thing about blitzing is when you blitz a quarterback, you open up a hot read for that quarterback, and our hot reads are insane. We got CMC, Kittle, and Debo just tearing it up once they get the ball in their hands. Some of the best yak monsters this league has ever seen. And so, yeah, I'm happy he came around later in the game, but even like some of his better throws were not that great. I mean, there was one to Jennings over the middle where Jennings had to like pirouette to catch the ball. I had people literally arguing with me on Twitter, oh, that didn't rob him of any yak. I'm like, dude, how could it not? Yeah, he practically had to stop to get it. I mean, they say it's a game of inches, and that cost him at least a yard. There's no way you can say that didn't cost him yak. And then, obviously there was one of the nicest throws I was thinking when the game was over, and I posted it when I did I do screenshots of the game of key plays of the game. I said that one of his best throws was the one to CMC that CMC dropped in the right there at the end zone. But somebody pointed out, like, if Purdy had just put a little more on that, the DB never would have recovered, and it probably would have been much easier for him to catch and make a TD. And then obviously there's the big one to Debo at the end. And I didn't really say this, but JT Sullivan said that it was 10 yards short. It should have been back pylon instead of front pylon. But ultimately, yeah, Purdy's doing well. He's 3-0. We're scoring 30 points a game. There's a lot to like. It's just, I feel like we've played some teams that aren't very good and some defenses that aren't very good. The Steelers D is starting to look a little bit better, but they were atrocious versus us. The Steelers offense is like second lowest in scoring percentage on drives. And the Giants is like fifth lowest. So anyway, bottom line is I would like to see us do this against better teams. That's all. But you can only play who's on your schedule. And, I like Purdy a lot. Like I said, I've said this until I'm blue in the face. I like Purdy a lot. What I hate is the ridiculous hyperbole that some of these homers spew, comparing him to Brady, comparing him to Mahomes, comparing him to Montana, Josh Allen. He's none of those guys, folks. Not yet. Maybe someday he will be. I hope he is someday, but he isn't yet. So that's where I am. Randy Daytona in the house.
That was a rant. Sort of semi-rant. A lot of new people just dropped in. Perk Dog's in here, and Panama Queen's here. There goes Panama Queen. Salty Cyclist, Donald Johnson. They're both here. Good to have you guys. I'm just going to
show them all so people don't feel like they're missing.
And we apologize. We weren't able to do a stream to recap the last game, and so therefore, it's been a while since we've been on here. And Laura mentioned IU out again this weekend. So, and I know there was also a report coming out that Debo didn't practice today and Jennings didn't practice. Like, if that's the case, who's going to play wide receiver for this team? Somebody's got to play.
Well, Ronnie Bell will play. Jennings won't play. I think Debo will play, honestly. And Ayuk is cleared. So Ayuk's going to play. I think Dre will play. I think Debo will play. I do not think that Jennings will, since he didn't practice and wasn't even seen around the
do we finally get Danny Gray this year? I was a big Danny Gray guy, especially when we drafted him, assuming that Lance was going to be the quarterback because he likes to throw the deep ball, and Danny Gray's a major deep threat. And it's like, since this whole season's been going on, we haven't seen Danny Gray at all. And I'd love to see Danny Gray got on the field with his explosive speed, and they said that he's improved a lot with his blocking as well. And it'd be nice to see the guy out there. Definitely would. And as far as Debo goes, in my opinion, Debo played a really, really nice game against the Giants. He stepped up big in Ayuk's absence, and he's that play to the corner of the end zone. A lot of people just see Debo as this guy that just runs like one or two different routes. The crosser over the middle, and then that little short pass where he gets the yak yards and all that. I'm sure he's very good at doing both, but I think he's kind of expanded his route tree just a little bit. You saw it a little bit in this past game, and that's good to see.
No doubt about it. Yeah. No, I thanks, Nancy. I appreciate it. I don't know. I feel like with Purdy, he's a hell of a QB, and we're lucky to have him. He's one of the best values and all that. He's the best valued quarterback in the NFL. and maybe one of the best valued players in all of professional sports. So there's a lot to like for sure. Um, and I don't know. I feel like people feel like I hate him, and it's just nothing could be further from the truth. I just have doubts about him. I have doubts that he can get us to where we want to go. I mean, if this whole team can stay healthy like it is, I think we can win it all. I just have doubts about the team staying healthy. And like, the thing for me is, I feel like Purdy's a little bit better than Jimmy G. They're different. They're very different players, but their results were strikingly similar when CMC started for Jimmy. And I know Purdy scored more, but the defense also turned the ball over way more for Purdy, 2.4 times a game compared to 1.2 for Jimmy. And now when we watch Jimmy at the Raiders, it's like, come on, folks. He's leading the league in interceptions. And you cannot tell me that if Purdy was on another team, that he wouldn't take a step down too. Not as big as Jimmy. I'm not saying that. But man, it's like you can't sit there and go, oh, Jimmy was totally carried, which, come on, he was. And then say Purdy isn't carried, maybe just a little bit less. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not bashing Purdy and lifting up, our weapons. We have the best group of weapons in football. CMC, Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, Kyle is one of the best play designers and play callers in the NFL. So I'm lifting them up more than I'm tearing Purdy down. And I'm leaving the door open. Purdy could be elite. He could be, right now I've got him more like in that 11 to 15 range. Maybe closer to top 10, but I'm not like firmly in the top 10.
That's fine. That's kind of where Purdy is right now. I mean, nobody should be placing him in top 5 elite category. If you do, you're fucking delusional and you're an idiot. And we don't need people like that going way too far with our players. Sorry
I thought I didn't, but man, I'm telling you, Bash, it's like they've all revolted on me. I mean, just look at the people on the channel here.
I mean, he's around. He's in that 11 to 15 bubble. There's a lot of gray area in that bubble. But as far as I'm Purdy putting up similar stats to Jimmy last year, I mean, to Purdy's credit though, he was completely brand new on this team. He barely had any reps with this team at all, and then he was throwing straight to the wolves. And
Jimmy's who dis Perk Dog, who dis?
And Jimmy was with this team for how long? And if they're putting up similar stats, it's like, sure, Jimmy was putting up good stats with all those weapons around him at one point, but Purdy was barely with the team, and he was just doing it as a rookie. So I think there is a bit of room of growth for Purdy. How much? I don't know. I mean, he could possibly get better just by osmosis, just by being there longer.
I think Purdy's arm's going to get better. I don't think his arm's 100% from the surgery yet. So I think he's going to get better arm strength just from that. And then, I think there's definitely, he can be better on his timing, accuracy. Just what we saw in that game against the Giants, there were quite a few very uncharacteristic of Brock Purdy, inaccurate throws or poor decisions. I think we'll see a lot of them. I don't know a lot, but I think it's very likely that Purdy will improve, is what I've been saying on the timeline. Real quick, just wanted to go back to Perk Dog. He said, Ted, you called me last night. Tell me how much you hate Purdy. He's obviously joking, folks, and it's funny. I got you, Perk Dog. That's all good. But no, I definitely do not hate Purdy. I said it all summer. I can prefer one quarterback without hating the other one. And I did prefer at least the idea of what Trey Lance could be. And we'll see what that ends up being. He's obviously a bust for the 49ers because we moved up, heaven and earth to get him. We traded him away for peanuts. So that's a bust as far as we're concerned. But as far as the NFL is concerned, there's no way you can write him off after only 5 starts. We have not heard the last of Trey Lance. I can't root for him anymore now that he's a Cowboy, but I do expect that he will show some of the promise that, a lot of teams wanted him besides us. We were not the only team that we moved up because we were worried about other teams taking him. So Randy Daytona says, rise up. Are you a Falcons fan? Isn't that what the Falcons say? Bash, rise up.
I'm not sure how to follow the Falcons. They got a running back that like that, Bijan Robinson.
Bebop says would love to see Mitchell have a breakout game. Well, Mitchell's hurt again.
Yeah,
Bebop.
He's got a knee injury, doesn't he?
He's already back on the injured list. Shocker of all shockers.
That really
he's
sucks.
He's questionable, so he'll probably play. But
it's very disheartening because last year and the year before, whenever he had the ball, we saw a lot of great eye-opening things with him. With the rock in his hand, and the downfall is like he looks great when he plays, but when does he ever play? It's kind of like a Raheem Mostert situation, and Raheem Mostert all of a sudden wants to score touchdowns again and be a factor and not be injured. So kind of sucks that we let him go, but he's doing his thing with the Dolphins now. So go figure.
Yeah, no doubt. I think he had some bad blood towards us. I don't think he was going to resign no matter what we did. Donald
Yeah.
Johnson, some high praise here. Randy, I'd rather watch Bash and Ted than listen to anyone on TV. That's
Okay.
awesome. Well, the thing about the people on TV, you got to keep in mind, like they're not specialists. None of them specialize in the 49ers. They all have to, keep track of everything that's going on. So they just can't dive as deep as we can and just nerd out on every little tweet and every little stat and every little, we of course listen to a lot of other people's channels and podcasts and articles. And so it's really hard to have the depth of knowledge that experts on one specific team can bring, for sure. So, but thank you, Donald. That's really high praise.
And Sin's in the house. Sin's here.
What's up, Sin? How you doing? Good to see you.
Brian Cope.
Can't say that QB can play in Kyle offense anymore. Brock is underrated. I never said any QB could play. That's the thing. It was proven that, Hoyer, CJ, Mullins, Beathard could not play. But they're not starting quarterbacks here, and they're not starting quarterbacks anywhere else. Josh Johnson. People go, oh, well, Josh Johnson couldn't do it. Like, Josh Johnson's never been a starting quarterback, not without somebody getting injured in front of him. So we're not saying any quarterback. I'm saying any top 15 quarterback, or maybe any top 10, somewhere in that range. I think could do it. I think quite a few of them could do it better. I'll be honest. Somebody said nobody could run this offense better than Brock Purdy can. No, I'm like, that is just shoo. Matt Ryan did in 2016. He ran it a lot better. And there's a lot better quarterbacks right now than Matt Ryan. I'm sorry. There are. I even peak Matt Ryan with Kyle in 2016. MVP, Matt Ryan, number one offense in the league. I would put Mahomes over him. I would put Josh Allen over him. I would put Burrow over him. I would put
Herbert.
Herbert. All four of those guys I would put over peak Matt Ryan any day of the week. You go. I've been talking too much, Bash.
I know. Yeah. I want to see what's up. Fired up 49ers is in the chat. He said he brought up a really good point. If you could see his chat, really good friend of mine, Kenny, in the Pacific Northwest. He said he was telling me about this running back Devon A-Chain, if I'm saying his name properly.
Yeah, A-Chain. Yeah.
The whole time I was doing those mock drafts on my channel, he was constantly screaming and shouting that we should draft this guy, and this guy exploded and kicked ass in that 70-point blowout that Miami put up on the board the other day, and he had about 4 touchdowns, if I stand corrected. And I was like, why didn't we draft this guy? Why didn't we draft an explosive, speedy running back? Like, I thought Kyle likes those type of guys when we had Mostert and Breda, and I'm sure we got McCaffrey. He's got some speed, but you figured we get another guy like him, but I guess not.
Yeah, no doubt. Brian Culp saying Brock Purdy 30. Yeah, guess what, guys? Remember last year it was 33, and he's going to do better. He's going to do better. Well, guess what? He's not doing better. And, guess what? The Steelers laid an egg against us. Their defense is starting to look good now, but it was not good against us. It's so bad that Mike Tomlin said, hey, everybody, you should just give your game checks to TJ Watt because he's the only one who showed up today. So, and then the Rams, all they have is Aaron Donald and a bunch of scrubs. And the Giants, I don't even know who they have on their defense, honestly. And a lot of them got hurt in that game, too. I remember their best corner going out in the second quarter. So, if you're comparing yourself to these teams, I'm sorry. I know you can only play who's on the schedule. I get it. But who's been on the schedule has not been impressive. So let's wait. Let's see how we do against the Cards. Let's see how we do against the Cowboys, the Browns, the Bengals, the Eagles, the real contender teams. I'm not even going to call the Browns a contender, but they've gotten off to a hot start at least.
The Browns got that right tackle that I keep talking about, DeJuan Jones, and they're putting up his pressure. He's barely allowed any pressures, barely allowed any sacks. He's like dominating so far. And I had all these people on Twitter telling me that he wasn't a system fit for this team, and blah 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 blah. It's like, dude, I think this guy could play on any team and do well.
Yeah, Bryant says we rock with Brock till he can't roll. Absolutely. I mean, we got no choice. We're not going to go with. Damn well better not go with Darnold. So. I'm rooting for him. I think he'll get better. I think he can. I think he will. I'm excited for this team as long as we can stay healthy. I just, I have some doubts about the health. That's all.
Speaking of Darnold,
yeah.
Brian Culp was sitting behind me at the game, and when Sam Darnold did take the field late in the fourth quarter, he yelled out, "Sam Area!" So I think he was the only. I think he was the only guy in the stadium to do so. And
Oh man.
on top of that, every time Moody kicked the field goal, he'd get up and say it's Moody season. I recorded him on one of those moments actually, and
Hey,
he was wearing
well,
a Moody jersey. So
nothing wrong with the Moody part. But Sam area, I don't know. I don't know if I can rock with that. But hey, yeah, as long as he only plays in garbage time, that's fine. Brock the Casbah, I like it. I
Terradome
said
said
something about.
Planet Brock. There's an old breakdancing song called Planet Rock by Africa Bambaataa. It's an old 80s rap song.
Oh
And
yeah,
he was saying rock, Planet Brock or whatever.
yeah, that was a great song. They have that other one too. That the world destruction. Your life ain't nothing. The human race is becoming a disgrace. Sorry,
That's okay.
I'm
Don't be sorry.
the time zone or whatever it was called.
Hey, you mentioned Jimmy. What do you want to say about Jimmy though on the Raiders? I know you said, oh well, Jimmy played for
Well,
the
I
Raiders.
mean,
Like,
people are like, "Oh, Jimmy's going to take him to the playoffs," and I'm like,
yeah,
"No, he's gonna fall on his flipping face as soon as
if
he
he
leaves
if
Kyle and these weapons." And it's the same for any QB here. It's a huge help, and I love what Purdy does, and he's done it better than Jimmy. I want to make that clear. I'm not saying they're the same guy. I said similar results, and obviously Purdy is younger and way cheaper, so incredibly better value. But I just have no zero doubts in my mind that if Purdy were to leave, he would not do as well unless maybe he went to like the Dolphins or the Eagles. I think they have comparably cushy setups to ours, maybe. And even the Dolphins don't have as good of a defense. But ultimately, those teams wouldn't look as good with Purdy because both of those QBs, Tua and Hurts, have much better deep balls than Purdy does. So, um, yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
I
there's a
don't know
lot to
all this
like, but
hop.
let's be realistic about it. Let's not like call him elite or call him top five.
I never understood the whole Jimmy G truther wave that was going on Twitter. It still exists on Twitter, and they were like saying that Jimmy G is going to do all these great things with the Raiders, and I never bought into that one bit. And yeah, you're going to see. I mean, he on top of that, it's not going well for him because he's in the same division as the Chiefs. I'd take the Chargers any day over the Raiders, and who knows, maybe the Broncos aren't looking too hot with Russell Wilson, but they might be even out with the Raiders. Who knows? But I mean, who's it? Devontae Adams isn't too happy in Las Vegas either, so I don't blame him.
Yep, no doubt about it. So real quick, some stuff from Bryant here. He says Hoyer has been a starter. Yeah, has been before he was here for a minute, and then ever since here when he went, was it 0-10, 0-9, 0-8, whatever it was when we traded for Jimmy. Then he's never been a starter since. So yes, he has been a starter, but I said they are not starters here and are not starters anywhere else currently. So that was my statement. So I'll stand by that. Matt Ryan folded in the Super Bowl. He did some. Kyle did some. But also remember that Falcons defense was rated like I've seen anywhere from 24th to 27th in the NFL. So, their defense was pretty cheeks too. So not like us with number one last year. And I think we're back to number one again this year. So it's a little bit different. Kyle plays. Kyle doesn't throw interceptions. Yeah, that's true. Kyle does a great job calling. He's done a phenomenal job calling the plays so far this season. I gave him grief about quarterbacks. I said that Kyle's a genius except for QBs and third round. Basically every third round pick not named Fred. Moody's starting to make that look better, but I want to see more time of Moody doing well. He obviously doesn't have to stay perfect. That's not realistic, but yeah, Kyle doesn't throw interception. No, Kyle is an exceptional play caller, but like I said, with QBs and pretty much every third round pick not named Fred, not as good. So we'll see, and Purdy could make that great. I mean, he says Purdy's the real deal. That's why expectations are so high because Kyle said he's the guy and traded away the guy who could have been the guy. So it's got to work out. Donald says all I heard of practice was better than Darnold. I believe Kyle picked Sam because he releases the ball faster. He does. Darnold was like Mr. Captain Checkdown during camp. Ryan Hensley called Purdy dink and dunk in the offseason, and Darnold was dink and dunk in camp. Purdy was ripping them deep. They weren't looking good, but at least he was throwing them deep. And Lance was hitting them the mid range, the lasers. And Darnold was like dump off Darnold. And just to be clear, I never called Purdy dink and dunk when that whole thing with Ryan Hensley happened. I said he had limited arm, limited height, limited top speed. And I did say he looked like it in the preseason games because there were no deep throws and he didn't throw any TDs. But he's looking much better this season than he did in preseason. So
yeah, and maybe because he's looking better because his arm is feeling better. He did come off a crazy surgery, a type of surgery that there was barely any NFL data in terms of injury history for that surgery. So a lot of us were like, oh, well, maybe he comes back around week 4, and he had an amazing speedy recovery. There was this huge unknown with Purdy going into the season, how he was going to look. And so far, in my opinion, he's looked like the same guy. And he has possible room to get better and look better than he did last year. We'll wait and see. Nicholas Akalates is here from the Locker Room Rant. Says, "What's up, boys? Can't wait for the Week 6 show. It's good to see him here. What up, Nick?" He goes on with John V and I'm Tony.
Tony gets by a lot. I love seeing Tony. I love seeing Nick, Vornado from time to time. Randy says, "Hey everyone, I'm Randy. Shanistan, Purdy file. I'm getting help." Oh man, no, I mean I'm a Shanna fan too. That's the part I said. He's a genius in most things. There's a couple things that bothered me about him, and the play calling I think has been phenomenal this season. And Purdy, I'm a Purdy file too. I'm just not delusional about what he is or isn't. But he could prove me wrong. And like I said, I'd rather be happy than right. So it's going to make me happy if we win a lot with Purdy. We win a Super Bowl. And I have revised a little bit. I was saying like, oh, we got to win it all or it's on Purdy. Like, that's not exactly true. We got to win it all or it's on Kyle. If Purdy is just balling completely out and something goes wrong and everybody gets injured or some fluky play happens, like, I'm not going to hold that against Purdy. I'm realistic. So, there you go. So Alberto says, bro, that goes for QB. That comes to the league regardless of how good you are. You need to be surrounded by good players. It's a great team. Well, that's a good point because Randy was saying something about the Chiefs up higher, I think.
The great top elite quarterbacks can't carry teams
we're not
on
as
their
bad
shoulders,
as the Chiefs offense. But the thing is, that's exactly what's going on with Mahomes. Is he only has Kelsey, and he didn't even have Kelsey in week 1 when they lost to the Lions, and he didn't have Chris Jones week 1 either when they lost to the Lions. So
they had a lot of drops in that game too.
So yes, every quarterback has help, but I'll show you another one I thought didn't have much help was last night. Jordan Love, he's got Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs and not much else. And I don't know that either of those guys are premier. Christian Watson had a little hot streak last year, but he could be a wide receiver 1. I don't know that Dobbs is a wide receiver 2. I don't know. I just feel like because somebody was saying that Lance was better than Love, and I was like, actually, I think when Trey Lance played, he had more help than what Love had last night because their O-line was really banged up too, and so was the D. Their star cornerback was out, and their star middle linebacker was out, Devondre Campbell. And what's the Packers star corner's name? I'm blanking on his name.
I'm blanking on his name too.
But he was out too, and so I don't think the Packers are as bad as they looked last night, and I think the Lions are pretty damn good, and they're about to get Jameson back because of this whole betting. It was supposed to be a 6-game suspension, and I think he can play this weekend, or if not this weekend, next week.
Hey, you mentioned Kyle, whether you were staying or not. We didn't talk about their extensions. Kyle and John got extensions.
They did.
Surprised, we don't know the terms of it. At least I don't know the terms and the details, but surprisingly, it was really early. A lot of people were speculating if they were to get extended, it would be after this season, depending on the success of the season, or depending on the success of the season the year after when their contracts were up. So if you talk to Dion, guys like him are really, really pissy that Kyle and John got extended so fast and so quick. And some people are making the argument that that Kyle and John have no incentive to work harder or coach harder or just scout harder to try to get number 6 for us because they already got their payday. But we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully it's for the betterment of the 49ers. And people said, oh, well, if you guys got rid of Kyle and John, who you gonna replace it with? And they're the best. They're the best in the NFL or something, and we can't do any better. So hopefully they're right. Hopefully those guys do, end up getting the prize at the end of the day, and we're all happy campers as Niner fans. But just throwing it out there, it's pretty damn early to get an extension, in my opinion. But we'll see how it plays. Oh, Clownman's here. What's up, Clownman? Great to see him. Says I'm dropping in hot. Hey, yo, fellas. Always a good show, man. Great to see you, bro. Long time no see.
Thank you. I'm going to scoot back up a little bit here. Randy had might have been the chat of the week here, where it goes Brock Elite and cheese with a picture of a broccoli, Brock Elite, because he's always griefing me because I'm saying he's not elite, so he's kind of saying it back. It's a little back and forth. I love it. And Alberto Soto saying, "Do you believe in Brock and the team?" Yes, I do. I believe in us as a team, especially like I said, if we're all healthy. I don't think there's a single team I would pick to beat us. I just don't see. Here it is. I just don't see this team staying healthy. That's the problem, and I really feel like Brock needs everyone for this to work. Now, granted, Ayuk was out last week, and Ronnie Bell stepped in nicely. I just don't think that's a long-term solution yet. But I think we'll probably get to see some more Ronnie Bell this weekend, especially since it doesn't look like Jennings will play. Here it is. My favorite food is Brock Elite and cheese.
Well, think about all the series we've had. The seasons we had that have been, killed by injury, so to speak, and
2020,
the 2019 season, we were fairly healthy in 2019 when it mattered with the players that mattered. Sure, it would have been nice to have more of a healthier Quan Alexander in the Super Bowl.
Blair and DJ Jones.
We kind of rushed it back. But maybe this is a year where we have a relatively healthier year than years past. And last year going to the playoffs, we had pretty good health in general. It's just that we lost our quarterback when it was at the worst time. So maybe the stars align properly this time. We'll see.
There you go. Yeah. Now, and regarding the extension, I thought it was a little early. I can see why they did it though. There was a lot of backlash around trading Trey Lance. And I think it was just a feel good thing to say hey, we believe in you guys. And there's no terms yet. I don't think we'll ever find out what they got money wise, but eventually the years will come out. So I can see why they did it. And now being off to a 3-0 start after, 3-5 to start 2021 and 3-4 to start 2022. It looks like we're kind of earning it, or they're kind of earning it. So keep it up, guys. Keep it up. I mean, as long as we win a lot and win it all, no one's going to care about the extension. But if we come up short, then some people are going to be like, well, why didn't we wait to see if we got that ring? But I guess they're just sure that this is as good as we're going to be able to do. I mean, I don't really trust Jed York to pick anybody better. I said a lot just pick someone who could get us a franchise QB, but that's kind of simplistic and not really intellectually honest, I guess I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Terradome's here.
Terradome. I bet he's got nice things to say.
Oh yeah, I mentioned Terradome earlier because he came up with the Planet Brock reference. I was gonna say, and I told there he is. He's typing it again, and I was gonna say if anybody's gonna make a song for it, it should be you because you coined the phrase. So go ahead.
There you go. Terradome in the house. Welcome. Randy is I guess in New Jersey, but he's Cuban. So Daytona. My boy Ted needs to hit the reefer. I got you. Don't worry. LOL. I used to a ton. I used to be.
I wish I knew you back then, Ted.
I mean, Pot Ted was one of my nicknames for sure. So, but not anymore. All grown up. Once you have kids, things change a little bit. Or some might say that's when you really need it. I don't know, but point taken, Perk Dog. I got you. Thanks. I appreciate it. I'll try and tone it down just a little.
And I know before the show started, you mentioned a few other things we should talk about. I wish I had wrote them down because I don't know if you jotted them down as notes, but
we got McNiner in the house. What's up, Nuevo?
I love Dave McNiner. I got to meet him. Cool guy.
Nice.
He sat right behind me at the game. Him and Brian Culp and Brian Culp's wife Tony. So going to this game though, really quick about the Cardinals. I mean, on paper, we should totally dominate. But, I mean, if you look at the Cardinals, for example, they're 20th ranked in offense, 23rd ranked in defense, special teams ranked 24th. Niners are, 5th in offense, 1st in defense, 20th in special teams. We're ranked as the second best team overall, or maybe some power rankings. This is according to PFF, that is. We're ranked second overall according to them, and then the Cardinals are ranked 22nd. But it's just this weird thing with the Cardinals. I mean, they look nice against the Cowboys. The Cowboys had an awful time, terrible time terrible time trying to stop the run with James Conner at running back. And I thought James Conner was pretty much done. I remember him on the Steelers, and he came in when the running back ahead of him got hurt. His name totally skips my mind. And yeah, so it's like that, James Conner, remember that one game that we lost to the Cardinals when Colt McCoy was the starting quarterback? That was a terrible, terrible loss against the Cardinals. And Jimmy G was the starting quarterback that game. And James Conner ran wild that game. I believe he had 3 touchdowns. He ran over Dre Kirkpatrick, who was like our journeyman cornerback that we had signed to help us out that year. And he just got destroyed by James Conner. So I do see our run game does look pretty sweet so far this offseason, even though I said during the season, that is, even though the preseason, the run game was questionable and I was very concerned about it. So I don't see James Conner doing what he did against the Cowboys, but I just don't want us to take the team lightly either. And who knows who, as far as offense goes, who knows who's playing wide receiver for us this game? Like, some people are missing practice, and Ayuk, sat out of the game because of an injury, and we'll see. I mean, and I'd like to say that it should be an easy game for us. It should be a good win for us, but the Cardinals are kind of trying to be sneaky, good trap team type good, so who knows?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say we should win. I don't know if we'll cover a 14-point spread. That's pretty massive. But I've been saying 27-17. I've said a bunch this season. But, with the Cowboys, before you start worrying about our defense too much, they had Trayvon Diggs tore his ACL last Thursday, the day of our game, in practice. So that gave him literally like one practice on Friday. It was probably a walkthrough to try to compensate and adjust for that. So that's a huge loss for their defense. And then with Micah, we talked about this all off season, right? Like when I kept saying Bosa, Myles Garrett, and TJ Watt are my top 3 edges, and I will not consider Micah Parsons a top edge until he's a dedicated edge, right? And why did I say that he doesn't play dedicated edge? Because he doesn't play the run well, and they ran straight at him. So I think you're not going to be able to do that to Bosa. They obviously don't have Fred. They don't have Dre. They don't have Huff. They don't have Kinlaw. The Cowboys don't have Kinlaw and Hargrave and Armstead in the middle. So yeah, Connor's a beast. He's like 235 pounds, 240. He's a monster. But, he will not look as good against us as he looked against the Cowboys. I can guarantee you that. And, the Cowboys defense or the Cowboys offense might have looked pretty good because they were going up against the Jets and Giants before that. And they have, what am I getting wrong here? The bottom line is that the Cowboys opponents, so the Cowboys scored like an average of, I think, 35 points a game. They scored 40 and 30, and that averaged 35 in the 2 games coming into the Cards game. And they only scored 16 against the Cards. Yeah, because the Giants and the Jets have good D. Shoot, I'm missing something here, but the bottom line is that the Cowboys opponents made them look better than they were. Even with Diggs healthy, that Cowboys defense was probably looking overinflated because of, all right, it's the Jets offense and the Giants offense. Jets are dead last in yards, accumulated, and the Giants are 5th from last. That's what it was. So that made the Cowboys D look better than it was. So, because they were supposedly number 1 coming into that game against the Cards. So the bottom line is I do think they'll be tough. They're a divisional game. It's a trap game. They're probably better than a lot of people give credit, but like Jack Hammer's like, oh, this will be a great, preview for the Eagles game. I'm like, what are you talking about? I literally quote tweeted him and I said, like, it's not too late to delete this, man. And everybody's like, oh, but Ted, they play the same scheme. It's the same scheme as the Eagles. And I'm like,
yeah, but the Eagles are way more talented than the fucking Cardinals.
It's just like not even close. And I'm like, dude, so we played the same scheme in 2017 and 2018 and 2020 when, we had no talent. Jimmy got injured. And everyone was injured in 2020. How'd the scheme work without the horses then, folks?
A Pop Warner team can run the same scheme as the Eagles do. Doesn't mean they're going to be the same test for the Niners.
Exactly. So anyway, I'm not writing them off. I'm not saying that, we can't lose, because you can lose any game, especially to a divisional opponent who knows you well. And they're playing hard. And one thing I did see was there was a stat about first half scoring, and they're ahead of us in first half scoring. And I tweeted about it saying basically like all these teams at the top of this first half scoring are like tough teams, other than maybe Arizona, and most of the only other teams that aren't scoring well in the first half that I think are tough were like the Ravens, the Seahawks, and obviously the Bengals because Burrow's been playing hurt. But that's another one that blows me away. Is everybody like, burying Joe Burrow because he's playing hurt, like as if he's just a bad QB now. People saying Purdy's better than Joe Burrow. I'm like,
Burrow's a fucking beast, dude.
I ran a poll. It was only 60-40 Burrow. Like, what?
I don't get people in our fan base that act like homers and drink the Kool-Aid all crazy, and it's crazy. I appreciate Brock for being good right away and helping us win these games, but let's not put him in top 3, top 5 category just yet, please.
Well, just remember, there's a lot of people who don't watch the games and they just rely on someone to tell them what to think, and then there's a lot of people who watch and they don't even understand what they're watching. So you got to remember that too. And there's a lot of people who are just like, hey, we're winning. Everything's fine if you're winning. Don't ever criticize anything if you're winning. Got Jess from East Coast Red.
What up, Jess? Had a great time. Jess had the hookup for the whole gold mine section at the game. It was awesome. She even got to be on the field. They had her on the jumbotron, and yeah, she was like the star of the day that day. It was pretty awesome. Great meeting her and her mother, by the way. Her mother was hilarious at the game, the way she was talking bad about the refs and all that. I want to mention something earlier because we were talking about, the rankings of the 49ers offense and, the Cardinals offense and you're talking about like who scores in the first half and all that. I just think like the last 2 games with Purdy running this offense, though, we've left a lot of points on the field. I mean, there's not necessarily one person to blame for that. You can blame the whole team. You can even blame Kyle for some of it too.
O-line too. Like I beat up Purdy a lot, but the O-line has contributed too.
And I just wanted to say, I just felt like the last 2 games, there were I just felt like we should have put up at least 2 more touchdowns against the Giants in the previous week, and so therefore our offensive numbers would have been even more. Our rankings would have been more. So who knows if we get a string of a few weeks where everything just clicks. And for us to put up 40 points in a game doesn't seem too far fetched for me. It doesn't.
No, there you go. And you mentioned during the Giants game you felt in control the whole time, and I kind of did too most of the game. I'll tell you, I did have one brief sort of moment where I was I wouldn't say panicking, but I started to worry some. It was when it was 17-6, and they punted the ball to us. And we had like a holding or illegal block on the return, and we got pinned inside our 4-yard line. And there was like a throw to Jennings that was going to be close to a first, but it wouldn't end up being a catch anyway. We ended up punting from our 4, and they got the ball right at midfield. And I just turned to my dad and I was like, they're going to score TD right here. And they did, 17-12. And then I think they went for 2 and didn't get it. And I was just like, okay, so we're up by 5. Like, we need to score at least a field goal right here, or this whole thing could switch. And luckily, we drove all the way down the field and stalled. Not luckily stalled, but drove all the way down. And Moody kicked the field goal, 20-12, 8-point lead. And then I started to feel a little bit better again. But that was a pivotal moment in the game. I felt like where had things gone a little bit differently, it could have been a different outcome. Judging by how the rest of the game played out, I was probably overreacting. I will admit that. But that was one for me where I wasn't feeling so rosy right at that moment, Bash.
Rosy, huh? We went to Rosie's Pizza. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned Hufanga earlier, and I want to mention this before I forget it because sometimes there'll be points that I want to mention during the show, and I forget it. The show ends like, damn, why didn't I mention that? One of my favorite plays at the game was Hufanga getting the interception. Now I know it was tipped in the air by Fred Warner. I think one other person may have tipped it as well, if I'm not mistaken, but at the end of the day, Hufanga had the awareness. It went high up in the air. Hufanga has excellent awareness for the interception, for the big play. One of them, it's just a breath of fresh air to watch him play safety for us. And, he had that interception. I was hoping he'd get it for a pick 6, but he didn't. But still, I mean, it's early in the season, but he's already got 2 interceptions. He was trained by Troy Polamalu. The moment we drafted him, I just saw a lot of good things coming this way for this kid. And, the fact that he was training with Troy Polamalu during his USC days, and he's just so dedicated to better his craft. And just a little stat for you. I mean, I'm not sure who PFF may have put this out. I'm not sure. I just found that on Twitter. So anyways, I mean, as far as the safeties in the NFL,
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah,
I tweeted
Talanoa
it.
Hufanga right now is the highest rated safety in the NFL in terms of passer rating allowed. So, and then that,
8.4
yeah, 8.3,
passer
8.3.
rating.
Yeah. So,
8.3.
yeah. So I remember last year when he every now and then he'd whiff on coverage. And like, for example, he whiffed on that big play against the Chicago Bears when freaking Dante Pettis looked like Jerry Rice and blew us away for like a 65-yard touchdown or something. So far, we haven't seen that. We see more of a steadier Hufanga, and hopefully we continue to see that throughout the season. And we're always going to see the big plays with Hufanga, so it's a lot of fun.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think if you just throw the ball away, it's like in the high 30s passer rating. So that's pretty incredible to have 8.3. Brent Culp says 68 is the real deal. He's a McKivitz fan. I've been saying, I remember after the Pittsburgh game, Bash, I said I thought that performance was much more about TJ Watt being insane than McKivitz being bad. And I expected him to improve just by not playing TJ Watt, plus improve just by more experience as well. I'm not saying he's playing great, especially not in the run blocking arena, but his pass blocking is good. I'm pretty sure he had a clean sheet against the Giants on the pass blocking. So hats off to Colton.
I mean, I wasn't really a huge Colton McKivitz fan, but a lot of people did speculate after that terrible game he had against the Steelers that he would bounce back. Hopefully, it continues throughout the season because there's definitely a lot of really good pass rushers that we're going to face. And they to his credit, they did put Aaron Donald on him in that Rams game. And the Niners, Shanahan in general, basically, you can say is excellent at scheming against Aaron Donald. I wish he was that good at doing it against the rest of the league and their great pass rushers, because we saw what happened in that Eagles game last year. And hopefully we can fix that the next time we are to play the Eagles in an important matchup or any other team with a strong pass rush. And we have Micah Parsons coming up pretty soon on the Dallas Cowboys. And yeah, it's just going to be a very interesting to see how McKivitz holds up. And I was just hoping that we'd draft somebody to challenge him, or just for depth purposes anyways, in case he were to go down. But we'll see. I mean, so far so good. Other than him giving up those major sacks to TJ Watt, and it's not just giving up a sack. So you can give up a sack. I get it. It happens in the NFL, but it's more or less if you're going to give up the sack, put up a fight. Don't let the fucking defensive end or pass rusher slip by you like a damn matador and a bull and a matador, and just have a clear shot at the quarterback to knock him out of next Wednesday. Like, we almost lost Brock Purdy in week 1 because of that. So we don't want to see that again.
No doubt about it. Hey, real quick, just want to call out that I do have a new sponsor for TED Talks Ball. I'm now TTB, brought to you by TTG. They are the Travelstead Group. They are retail, logistics, and also hospitality logistics. So third-party logistics, setting up stores, moving items around across country. They're nationwide. Nick and Henry are great guys, and you can find the link to Travelstead Group in the description for this show, my Twitter about page, my Twitter bio, the YouTube about page, all, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, the links there and all my properties. So make sure you check them out if you're doing any kind of logistics work, whether it's retail or hospitality. Great folks, and just tell them Ted sent you so they know that it came from here. I'd appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
There you go. That's Ted's new sponsor, TTG. I never heard of them before, but now I have. Thanks to you.
Check out their website. They got a cool video that shows what they do.
We'll do.
And if you know anybody who's into that, I'm
pretty sure you put the link in your on the video for it, right on your end.
Yeah, it's in the description here and on Twitter about or my Twitter bio, YouTube about, all the different properties I have a link there, and it just says like TTB brought to you by TTG. So they're my new sponsor. So excited to roll that out.
There was I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if you know him, but he might be somebody I know for all I know. But he said something. I think he was talking about McKivitz. VT2 2022.
Oh, that's Tony. That's locker room. That's Tony from locker room.
Oh, is that Tony from locker room? I thought his name was different on the chat.
Yeah, VT 2022.
Well, confirm if you are Tony or if you aren't Tony. I thought his name was different. But anyways, he said, hold them if you must. He was talking about McKivitz. Thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Thanks, Laura Cat. Yeah, so Donald John says, will Bosa get sacks this game? I'm saying he gets 2, Hargrave gets 1. I like that. I like that line. I think Bosa's going to get 2. I think he's
Yeah, I
going to
think
explode.
Bosa's from here on out. Bosa's going to be going off. Hats off to him. He does not look like a player that sat out that whole preseason and just came in like a few days, off of signing the contract into week one. A lot of people were saying that he wasn't going to be the same player, and right now he's starting to look like the same player, in my opinion.
There you go, Donald Johnson getting scolded. It's just perk or perk dog. Keep that in mind. Don't get into trouble. Nueva says against the Steelers, played a lot of shotgun. TJ Watt used his speed and didn't have to go through McKivitz. I see. He just came around from the outside. Yeah, it was scary, those two fumbles and the one that we lost. And the one that Purdy got back, the way he got it back was scary, putting his arms behind his back. I was worried that he might injure that elbow. So he says, 49er minded played in my era, the Matador technique in high school. Coach Jarvis's favorite terms when we were watching film.
Oh, okay. There you go. We have a connection there, Pterodome.
There you go. Then David Yang was saying McKivitz has played okay. Most of the pressure is still coming from his side. Burford isn't playing good as well. No, Burford and Banks has struggled with some pressures as well. But Trent Williams, Brendel, and McKivitz have done pretty well in pass blocking. As far as I understand, as far as I've seen, I think they're doing, we got Aaron in the house too. What's up, Aaron?
What up, Aaron, for 49ers First Take Podcast. Check out his channel. Yeah, I mentioned earlier, Brock Purdy's the 10th most pressured quarterback in the NFL. And from everybody in that top 10 list, he's the only one who's 3-0. So hats off to him. He's recognizing the blitzes properly. So
Randy's saying you down with TTG. Yeah, that was why we were late getting started, was I was redoing this overlay so it have TTG on it. And I couldn't figure out how to get that stupid grass out of there. So you got to get so it looks more like Bashes over there where it's
I'll fix it for you. I have to do it from scratch.
Yeah, we just ran out of time. There we go. Let's see here. Oh, wait, we already saw that. I think we might be caught up here.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people chatting on both channels, so appreciate you guys both.
If you're on my channel, make sure you get over to Bashes, to 49er Minded, give them a like and subscribe. Same thing if you're on Bashes, come on over to mine, like and subscribe. If you're on a browser, open up 2 tabs, gives us all the watch hours. It really helps us. You just make sure to mute one, or it'll get a little confusing because one will be slightly delayed. David Yang says, Bosa has the highest pass rush win rate percentage, even though hasn't gotten the sacks, he's causing havoc. He also has the highest triple team and double team rate by a big factor. I think he's like 37% of the snaps he's getting double or tripled. And so I tweeted, you can find that one on my timeline. I retweeted that and just said he's an absolute monster or something like that.
Hey, speaking of win rates, speaking of win rates, I know it's a small sample size and he's not necessarily a starter and he's not a guy who gets a ton of minutes, but so far in these first few games, Javon Kinlaw has looked a lot better than a lot of people were expecting.
Wasn't I telling you that from camp?
A lot of people were saying he can't.
He could be our best rotational player. And now we're not even doing that. Now we're doing 5 D lineman sets.
Yep, the five man front. Yep.
5-man front, bear fronts, or whatever they call it, elephant.
The bear. I like calling. I love saying that. He's got he could take PFF with a grain of salt, but he's got an 85 rating. I mean, in comparison, his ratings on PFF were extremely lower than that in past seasons. So it is a good measurement if you're comparing season to season.
There you go. Says, why don't you guys love Brock? Why don't you guys let
Brock? Brock? Who said Brock's trying to love me? I don't know about that one.
No, I really like Brock. I say there's a lot to love about Brock. I do. I say he's a mental giant. All the intangibles. I just wish he had an elite physical trait other than quickness. But even that could be enough. He could be elite. He's just I don't see it right now. But it could happen.
And I met Brock in person. He's a really, really nice guy. And I like I said, he's been doing well. He's been playing well. He's been, doing good things for his team, and hopefully it continues. I think in terms of the way this season is, constructed, in terms of other teams in the league that we may have to face, in terms of the talent that this team has, in terms of the coaching that this team has, he is good enough to lead us to a Super Bowl victory this year, possibly next year, maybe. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I don't want to jump too far ahead and and say he's the greatest thing since tonight as quarterback since ever lived or anything like that, because it's still way too early for that. But so far so good. Like what I see.
No doubt. We got Perk Dog saying I need Greenlaw to baptize Dobbs and Connor. I hope so, man. Get somebody. I think it was Steph was on with some folks and they were saying the peanut punch, and someone was saying no, it's the Greenlaw punch now. That they were trying to teach it to people because they thought Greenlaw might be out to help us get some turnovers.
How Greenlaw can punch out the ball for those fumbles.
He does.
You know what? I thought that was so lame that he got. I know Greenlaw does it from time to time where he gets penalized and he's a little reckless out there. But I still, did he have to pay a fine for that penalty that he had on that player where they're trying to say he hit him late or whatever? I forgot who the player was that he hit, but you know what
I don't know, but he gets a lot of reputation calls. I'll just say that. Where there have been several this season where I'm like, if it wasn't the number 57, there would be no flag on that play. So he's kind of developed a reputation, and now he gets a little extra love, or not so much, more like hate from the refs. Extra penalties called on him.
Yeah, and another thing, as far as our other linebacker goes, Fred Warner. I don't know if you saw, Bosa was teaching Fred Warner some pass rushing drills in practice. So I don't know if we're going to see any glimpses of Warner rushing from the outside, perhaps, and we'll find out.
There you go. So Range says sometimes you eat the Bears, and sometimes he eats you. Somi Mara says 515. That's the Bear.
That's the front. The front, yeah.
Yeah, with five D linemen, just Fred, and then 5 DBs. Perk says 49er, you're my brother. Just say sucker free, wreaking havoc on these other teams' fans. There you go. Let's see here. Tony's saying the right side of the O line has done better as the team progresses this year. Yes, I trust Chris Forrester. I think he does. He does a pretty good job. And Somi's saying that Banks has been playing good. All right. I thought he had at least one game where he struggled. Stevo Supremo in the house. He says that's only with girls, Culp. I'm not sure. I must have missed that.
Yeah,
one.
Some conversation
coming up from the bottom. So sorry, folks.
You don't have to read every comment now. Come on.
Penalty was BS on Greenlaw, man. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was a reputation not deserved, in my opinion.
A lot of what he's done in the past is deserved, but hopefully these refs don't get carried away and just assume that, oh, look, it's Greenlaw. He's doing something bad. He's too aggressive,
Yeah, I'm with you. And Donald Johnson saying, I'm not mad at Greenlaw being aggressive. I like the dog in him. Yeah, you don't want to tell him to be careful and then have people have him start missing tackles and not being aggressive enough to make plays. So no doubt about it. Do we want a nice guy at QB? Nice guys finish last, right? I don't know the Purdy's. I think Purdy's got that. I think he's got that dog in him too. I think Purdy's a kind of I don't know if he's an assassin, but he's a gamer for sure, and he definitely knows how to take control of the huddle. So I don't know. I think he's nice till it's time not to be nice. There we go, Randy. That was that same that someone said about Lamb.
Oh my gosh, Brady, really? I know where he's going with that.
Yeah, we do. Hi, Bash's chat. Just jumping between chats, showing support. Thanks, Laura Cat. That really helps. That way nobody feels left out. Don't want to miss out on Laura Cat, that's for sure. I've jumped in the pool. Come on, the water is great. The Brock pool?
I'm not sure what he means by that.
Brock is good enough. Look how far we got with check-in Jimmy G.
See, I don't think that's Tony from Locker Room Rap, because he's saying we and he's a Buffalo Bills fan. So identify yourself. Who are you?
I could swear it was Tony from Locker Room.
No, Tony's is like his screen name's like TCAF31 or something like that. I remember it well. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's just Vermont 2022 then.
I don't know. You say who he is. Say who you are.
No, it's fine. They don't have to. Brock is a nice guy. Oh, okay, so we've been to there.
I was saying Brock was a nice guy, and he was saying we don't need.
Yeah, we got silly fun guy in the house. The adjective for metal is metallic, not so for iron, which is ironic. Oh man, if I had $1 for every time I tweeted out ironic. Usually when somebody says I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm like, ironic.
Let's do this really quick before we go, because we're gonna I have to go pretty soon actually.
Sure.
Does anybody, and regardless of what chat you're watching it on, does anybody here have a Brock Purdy jersey? Say yes, I do have a Brock Purdy jersey. or say no, but I plan on getting one. Let's hear it. Let's hear who has one, who's planning on getting one.
All right, and you know my deal, right?
And Terradome, what's up, bro? He thinks it's really funny when I take pictures of players. He says I'm like Ferris Bueller. I'm running around rubbing shoulders with celebrities or whatever. And I was telling me I had another Ferris Bueller moment on Thursday. And for those of you guys who know, I ran into I didn't take a picture with him, but I ran into Be Legit. If you guys remember him from the rap group The Click, E40's brother. So Terradome says he only wears Hall of Fame jersey. So you gotta wait a while for Purdy then. If he ever makes it to the Hall of Fame, you got to wait a bit for that one.
I won't wait that long. If we win Super Bowl this year with Purdy, I'm buying a Brock Purdy jersey.
Oh wow! The people on Twitter, you should tweet that out, man. People will love you on Twitter for saying that. Maybe you won't get as much hate as you normally do.
Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Oh yeah. I mean, I've been saying it on shows for a while. I think I said it with Aaron first. And he was like, I don't know if I believe you. I'm like, oh, believe me. Like last Super Bowl we won, Steve Young.
There you go.
And this was from '96, so there you go.
Oh yeah, I get criticized for name dropping. I know. I don't.
No one else is gonna do it. You got to take care of yourself. Don't let the haters bring you down.
It's okay.
There you go. It's in the Super Bowl. It's in the cart. No, I don't have it in the cart yet.
Hey, Randy. Well, hey, that's.
I got to make sure I don't grow between now and then.
Hey, they're definitely gonna make a movie if Purdy ever does win a Super Bowl. If it's this year or next year, maybe 5 years down the road, maybe they won't make one. Who knows? Maybe they probably would because he's the last pick in the draft. But definitely, if it's in these upcoming years, these recent years, you're definitely going to see a movie coming out about Brock Purdy if we were to win the big one.
And let me just apologize, Lorcat. I didn't mean to call you saying that Bash name dropped a hater. I just meant in general. You got to kind of promote yourself some in this business. So it's part of the nature of the beast.
I'm telling stories about my life. All right, that's what I'm doing.
There you go. Well, I know we got to get going here, Bash. Did you want to give like any predictions for the game?
Predictions. You know what? This is gonna be a bold prediction. Let's just say that. Okay. I say we. Let's say we put up 38 in this game.
Nice.
We put up 38, and I'd say the freaking Cardinals put up 14. That's it.
Love it. I was saying 27-17, but I'm going to say 2 TDs for Kittle, 2 sacks for Bosa.
There you go.
There you go. Well, everybody, thank you for stopping by today. We had a blast. The audience was hopping. I fell behind many times. Doing my best to keep up. Promise I'll do a better job next time. But next week will be on Bash's channel, I believe. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. It might be me again because I think he did it last week because I was still coming home from the hospital. But last time we streamed. Anyways, thanks everybody, and I'll just say peace and go Niners.
Go Niners! Beat the Cardinals.